Wednesdays, fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Tuesday. And Cody, it is a big Tuesday. We did the whole Murad Watson show yesterday. We talked about it on the modcast today as he was on campus. One visit from the Penn State transfer portal freshman defensive tackle.
Syracuse.
Sorry, it's the Syracuse. I'm sorry. I have Penn State on my mind I'll as soon as I get done with this opening, I'll tell you why Penn State is on my mind as far as immediacy. The Syracuse defensive tackle, the freshman transfer portal defensive tackle, does indeed commit to Texas. What do you think? They gave him $1 million?
I'll go 775.
It'll come out what they gave him. I'll bet it's close to $1 million. I'll bet it's $1 million.
775. For the price is right, I'll go 775.
I was thinking about Penn State because right before we came on, Cody, there's on Prize Picks for our great sponsor, Prize Picks. Now they have an NFL draft game. We have some NFL draft stuff to talk about today. One of the things that they're doing for the NFL draft is they can't make it to where you can put real money entries on it. What they're doing is they're putting out a $500,000 contest where they're giving a bunch of different higher or lowers, more or lesses, and you just pick three, higher or lower. And whenever you do, if you get anybody who gets all three splits the $500K. So it'll probably be you get like $3 each, but it's a fun thing. One of them that I was looking at was higher or lower, 2.5 Big Ten players in the top 10. And I was trying to decide whether I would like that better than 3.5 SEC players in the top 10 for the draft. And I was just thinking, man, it feels like if you take if you take the Big Ten side of it, it feels like you're kind of I think you're guaranteed two Penn State guys, right? Don't you think that you're almost kind of guaranteed Tyler Warren and Abdul Carter?
I mean, you got Mason Graham would be more of a guarantee for me than
right. Well, and then I mean, Mason Graham would be the third, but I thought with the two Penn State dudes, and I know that I get Graham, that feels like a better deal to me than the 3.5 SEC, because SEC you'll have Will Campbell, Jalen Walker, Michael Williams, and then you hope for Armand Membu,
and you have Banks.
And Banks could go 10 to the Bears. Or earlier. He could go 4.
And you have Walter Nolan, who we plugged in at 11. Like, who knows? I'm not saying he's going to go top 10, but he's, people have talked about him like a top 10 player outside of the off the field stuff. So if somebody waives the off the field stuff, you have that element as well. So you're saying 2.5 Big Ten or 3.5 SEC. Yeah, I think your money would be best put towards the Big Ten. I don't know if I would do it. I don't know if I buy the Warren thing.
Okay. Fair enough. Anyway,
where do I find this on Prize Picks?
You just go there. It's on the Prize Picks app. You just go there and you'll see it at the top to play the NFL Pick'em draft game. $500K free. Anyway, that's why I said Penn State. I was doing that stupid game right before we got on, and that's why we were a few minutes late. Cody, Murad Watson. I talked about my thoughts on this all day yesterday, but he's in. What do you make of it? What's the impact on the depth chart? Does he slot in as an immediate starter?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've both extended our thoughts on Murad Watson. The thing felt like it was going to come to fruition when he got into the portal. It comes to fruition. We talked about the monetary side of things. I've come around a little bit further than I was 24 hours ago. We talked about it on the noon show on the modcast. For those that didn't tap in, I kind of talked about my continued belief in Kenny Baker. And I've said I don't quite have it right where Kyle Flood's at, because he's got more stripes on the wall, but I think Kenny Baker's getting there. And the LaVon Johnson thing kind of allowed me to think that, where if Kenny Baker wants him, and Kenny Baker's sitting there talking to a guy that maybe isn't wanted by every other school in the country, that Georgia and Ohio States and stuff like this, Kenny Baker must have a reason or a thought, or he can see a projection. And I think Murad Watson fits the same thing where, I use the analogy of Josiah Sharma, a guy that's 330 plus pounds as a high schooler and a 4-star prospect, which is a better rivals rating than was Murad Watson coming out of high school when he was committed to Kent State and took an official visit to Tennessee. And he goes to Syracuse and he dominates and plays 493 snaps. And he was the freshman All-American at Syracuse. And he did it against Miami, like you talked about yesterday. And he's still got baby fat on him. And I think that the idea that they can get him for probably a decent deal, I don't think they spent $1 million on him. I think what
To me,
happened,
that seems like a good thing to say, dude.
I don't think they spent $1 million, man. And here's my last thought is I think that what it comes down to is when he gets in this Torrey Becton weight training system for the whole summer, which I assume he's going to get to Texas here soon, and he'll get enrolled, and I'm sure he'll be around campus all summer. I don't envision him committing and then like going back home to New Jersey for the whole summer. I assume he's going to. We'll see. I mean, the role, like, we can talk about it, but I think the role initially starts out as like him and Cole Brevard project. Of course, now he doesn't have the spring, so the first day of fall practice, if you hypothetically get to go out there, you might not see him with the first or second unit. He might have to earn those reps, like we've seen, the last couple of years for even the 5-star freshmen that come in. They have to earn the reps to twos, earn the reps to ones. But I think it'll happen over time with Murad Watson, and he'll become the number one inside there. So I think it's a great get. Great run defender. I still have my worries and my questions about the pass rush, but as good as the defensive backs are and as good as the edge is, I think it could make up for itself. And if this kid, like I said, gets in the Torrey Becton weight room and he gets in the Kenny Baker defensive line room, I think there's a lot of projection, a lot of upside here with Murad Watson.
So if you had to guess right now, would you say what percentage chance that Watson's one of the 2 starters in Columbus? Starters.
Percent chance?
Yep.
60%.
I'm not sure where they are on January, man. I just don't know. There were people. I've heard so much that like there was some real heartburn about the state of the interior defensive line coming out of this spring, unlike anything we heard last year. Last year was the heartburn from us, right? It was us saying, "Gosh, how are you going to get back to the college football playoff when the heartbeat of your team, like the identity of the team, was that the interior of the defensive line, and you lose both of them?"
Yeah.
And I feel like from us, it's like, how are you gonna make this run in the SEC this year? We say, how are you gonna make this another run in the SEC in Arch Manning's first year when you lose 4 out of your starting 5 offensive linemen and your depth doesn't look too great? And I have some reports from practice today with some offensive line news that we'll get to here soon. But that was never the way that they saw it last year. With Broughton and with Collins and stuff, they're like, chill, it's fine. It's going to be fine. And weirdly, that's what they're telling us with the offensive line now. They're like, chill, it's fine. They're actually good. They're hard to go against, And the thing that we're not worried about, we've just kind of thrown it aside and said, well, Kenny Baker can do this with Collins and Broughton. We didn't notice a fall off from Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy of all people last year. We didn't even see that big a fall off. I mean, these guys weren't these complete Tasmanian devil hellraisers like these guys were, but it wasn't like both of them are like they're not going to get drafted in 2 days, but they'll both be drafted in 3 days. I think they'll both be drafted Friday night.
Yep.
And I just figured, at this point last season, I said, look, if there's not major improvement from these guys, this is gonna be the Achilles heel of the defense. Now that Kenny Baker has shown that he can take those guys and do something with them, I just kind of put it to the wayside that he'll be fine. He'll get it figured out. He got it figured out last year. How can it be any harder than figuring out how to replace Murphy and Sweat?
Well, I think it will be. I think it'll be tougher.
I understand. Well, I've come to understand that now, right? Because what their actions are telling us is that we went ahead and went and got 3 dudes, right? 3, right? Shaw, Canoe, and Brevard.
No. Isn't it five? Didn't they get? They had at least four.
Well,
Levon
no.
Johnson. Levon Johnson.
Well, right, but I'm saying in the regular portal window, 3,
Oh
and
yeah.
then
Sorry.
after spring, they're
Yeah.
saying we need 2 more.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's kind of like, I think that I mentioned this yesterday. Or was it on the podcast? I forgot what it was, but I still really believe this point. They they've told they've told us that they need this by going out and making this a not just a um, not just a priority, but like a big priority and getting 2 of them. Whereas they haven't necessarily shown us that with, say, wide receiver and all the rest, and that's still yet to be seen whether another wide receiver is going to come in. But that's why the Murad Watson thing is so big. And I'm gonna go out there and I think so. Steven Henderson is saying that I think January and Cole start, and I just I don't think that I think Cole Brevard will start. I don't think January will start over Murad Watson.
I don't think so either. Not today. Again, you got to remember this kid has six times the snaps
It's just,
in
I
real
mean,
live games.
Alex Alex January could make a massive jump from last year to this year. I'm not saying that he can't, but he was wholly unproductive last season. Just, I mean, let me see if I can pull up the exact numbers, but it was so in the deep dig, Alex January last year was he played 80 snaps. He had like 1 solo tackle and 4 assisted tackles. This dude generated production in the deep dig scale once every 26.67 snaps. That was good for dead last on the whole entire team.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There were 2 other guys. There are 2 guys behind him. Aaron Bryant, who played 19 snaps, and Zena Umuzolo, who played 1 snap on defense. So this is a guy that played 80 snaps, generated production once. He was the least efficient player on the whole entire team that actually played a requisite number of snaps. And so for anybody to say I think he's our best, if that's your best 3 tech, you're in trouble. That's a completely unproven commodity.
Which is exactly why they went into the portal.
Yep. And then so Steven Henderson is saying that what is this? Travis Shaw is injured, so can't trust he'll stay healthy in the fall. And the last 2 portal DT multiple year players, they're making up for the misses in the recruiting last 2 years. I get it. I get it.
Canoe was also always a projection. Shaw's been hurt. Brevard has hit so far, it sounds like.
Yep. And here's the thing. Sark said today at his availability that Justice Terry is, back out there. He's playing. They're playing him some at the strong side defensive end, but as I've been reporting, they play him a lot at the 3 tech, and but he'd been hurt, and I don't think that they got. In fairness to the existing defensive line, infrastructure prior to the Watson and Levon Johnson. And look, I don't think that Levon Johnson is going to be that big an addition. Personally, I think that probably January will be better than that guy. Do you?
Yeah, probably about equal right now.
Yeah, it's just with January, it's just it's impossible to tell. We have 80 snaps to go on.
Yeah,
and
we heard positive things during fall camp last year. So I mean, again, man, you've seen these guys one time in person, once this year.
Yeah,
so it's tough.
Yeah, talk to a lot of people though, man. It's like there's certain themes that keep coming up. Just keep coming up and keep coming up and keep coming up. And it's the Murad Watson thing's big. And do you think does he just get to move down here? Or does he got to go back there and finish up a semester? He's probably got to go finish up his schoolwork.
Well, I'm sure he's got a couple weeks left. Well, I mean, my sister's a sophomore in college right now and think she gets out on like May 5th or 6th or something. So I'm sure they got a couple weeks left.
Wonder if
and then he'll move down.
Wonder if they gave him any going out and running around money just for like while he's up there. Give him a little advance, quick quick 50K to start.
Sure.
Gosh, man, it must be awesome to be a really good
But you know what I bet it was?
player.
I bet it was like, hey, here's 50K. Stop in Lakeway before you head out of town.
You stop. Hey, look at Cody. Stop at Lakeway, and of course, go to Texas Beef Traders. You don't need 50K. You know, I guess he doesn't know that you can just tell him that you listen to you can tell the Texas Beef Traders that you listen to Football with Friends and you get 10% off. So even if he spent 50K, it would just be 45K. He could keep the other 5 and do whatever. But look, I think that 50K would get you like 25 whole cows. You know that you can buy whole cows there. Like you can go talk to Darren. He can get you set up with with a sheet where you can just pick the different steaks that you want, how much you want of this, how much you want of that, how you want it cut, all this stuff. He can totally walk you through it. But if you're not into that and you just want, steaks like me tonight, I'm eating New York strip steaks from Texas Beef Traders. They're going to be delicious. I'm going to do them out on the Weber grill. No vaccines, no antibiotics, no weird shots. No, the herds never commingle with any others. The steaks that I'm eating right now have come straight from the processor. They've never been frozen. It's just such amazing beef at Texas Beef Traders. Make sure and go check out our sponsor, Texas Beef Traders, right there in the heart of Lakeway. I've never told anybody this and have them be disappointed. Just go in there and say, hey, Darren, Alex said, let's just do the thing. And you might say, what does that even mean? Just go in there and tell Darren that, okay? And see what kind of adventure awaits you at Texas Beef Traders. And if you can't make it in and you live in the Austin area, just call up there, put in your order, get your 10% off, tell Darren where you live. He'll just bring it to your house for free. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com.
Hey,
Yeah.
I know one thing. So I just got to the draft house here in Tampa where you're going to join me in a couple of days, but not beef related, but meat related.
Mm-hmm.
2 10-foot fishing poles on the premises.
Have you seen whether they're like rusted out or whether they work?
They're great. I haven't used them yet because I've been here for like an hour and a half and I had to get all my stuff set up. But 2 10-foot fishing poles. We got a great dock in a little like harbor inlet type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the neighbor over here. He was ripping. I didn't see him catch anything because I only saw him out there for a second. I had to do some stuff, but I saw him ripping. So I'm assuming he's catching something. Yeah. There's something in there. There's bait. There's plenty of chairs. There's a fillet station.
Well, Byron told me exactly how to get rigged up. Our partner at Roster Watch, Byron lives out there in that area. He lives in St. Pete, and not St. Pete, Longboat Key, which is that St. Peter's?
No, it's
about Sarasota. Yeah, Longboat Key. And he was telling me, so he was saying that what we need to use is in that one spot, because I sent him the exact location, and he was saying that he said a white pale green plastic paddle tail style swim bait that looks like a bait fish. The hooks you buy for those have a weighted head and the eye of the hook. And he said a good option is rigging a light pole with a small weight and hook a tip with a tiny bit of shrimp, and then jig up a pinfish, a ladyfish, a whiting, etc. You can use for live bait or fresh cut bait. So we have the whole thing here figured. I mean, it's a whole list of exactly how to do it. So
well, I'll go downstairs after the show and I'll send you a picture of all the bait we got so we can figure out if I need to go pick some stuff up before you get here.
Well, that's awesome that I'm going to bring my telescopic rods.
Yeah. These are big boys. These are big rods.
Let's see here. Another question from Steven Henderson. Why don't they give you guys more media access during spring and fall practices, Alex? That's a good question for, you know what? Like, I mean, I would recommend asking Chris Del Conte.
Someone tweet at him.
Yeah. Tweet at him. Just say, man, why did the media only get to go out to one practice this year? Maybe Del Conte might say like, what? And they could cause him to call Bianco and have them lighten up his stance on this. It's pretty absurd. We would like to have better information and not have to depend on just sources. I hate calling people and bugging them.
You know what my POV would be? being from, I consider myself still an outsider, even though we've been doing this show for how long? 170 episodes now, just this year, or in the last calendar year. Um, I think it would be the fact that it's been tightened up because one, the arch factor, and two, they're in a national championship run, and it's like the less that gets out, it's probably the better. And I think they know you guys are maniacal, and there's guys like you, and there's others in the space that just report on as much as they can. They try to get inside scoops on like different positional things, and I'm sure they don't want these guys. Maybe this is just again my brain working here. This is according to nothing other than like think about like you come on the show and you're like, man, look at Parker Livingstone's a great kid. There's no questions here, but imagine like a kid like Parker Livingstone, who wasn't a starter last year, but all of a sudden you're out here talking about him a bunch, and he gets a hot head and he goes in and asks for more money, hypothetically, right? Like,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of different things that go into it, but I think NIL goes into it. I think the arch factor goes into it, and they're in a championship run. The less it gets out, the better for them, I guess. Disagree with it, but
I'll never forget this one time that there was a open practice, and this was a couple years ago. It might have been under Charlie Strong, maybe it was under Herman, but the guy that works under Bianco, who I actually like a lot more than Bianco, Thomas Stepp. Thomas, he's a nice enough guy. He's just he just works under Bianco, and he's a good soldier. He just does, it's like he's like, that's the deal. He's like, he's kind of one of these don't shoot the messenger types, right? But I remember it was like it was some kind of open practice, and it was like there were fans allowed there, right? There were fans allowed, and the media was there with Thomas or whatever. And after like 50 minutes of practice, he's like, "All right, it's time for the media to leave." And we're like, "What? Like it's an open practice?" They're like, the other media didn't say this, but I was like, "Thomas, what?" It's like it's an open practice. It's open to the public up here.
yeah,
Like, why do we need to leave? And he's like, because he looked at he's like, because they don't see it like they don't see what you guys see,
exactly.
And I was like, well, it's like, well, some of them might. And like, and I'm about to see it, and like, I'm about to see it like I see it the minute I get up, the minute you kick me out of here, and I go and watch it in the stands, like every other buddy. You know what I mean? It's just so maybe there is some kind of bit of that. They think, they think that there's stuff that we see that they don't want out there, but it doesn't matter. Like, are you telling me that there's not a Clemson reporter that's as sharp as me or somebody like they can tell where people are lining up? I mean, it's like. I mean,
but again, like you also think about it from a coach's perspective. Maybe there's like, a guy like Dabo. I don't know. I'm not in the media circus there, but maybe he's a guy that just like, wants the
he
media
had
on his
9 open
side.
practices that it's like actively soliciting you to come to.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I think that's, again, that could just be different, different staffs want different things. Sark doesn't have anything to prove. Sark doesn't want to be friends with you. He just wants to, he wants to win a championship. Right. And who knows what these different staffs think and how they view stuff. But, yeah, that's the thing too, is like, we've talked about that Georgia defensive, thought, the more of like, I guess the easiest way to say this is like the NASCAR package, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're implementing something and they don't want, us to come on here and, pull up the Georgia defense and go, this is what Texas is going to do next year. Like, this is where we think that Trey Moore's going to play. Like, that's like maybe the easiest thing is like, they just don't want you to see certain things. And
that's my guy, Christopher Summers.
Shout out.
There you go. Yeah. Tip of the spear, Christopher Summers. Thank you, brother. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully they make up for it in the fall. Right. I think that, because the thing is, we were supposed to have 2, and then the one got rained out. It got moved to the bubble, and we have to turn around and go home. And that should have been made up the next week. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that should for. I mean, come on, man. 2 is crazy, stupid. Not very many either, but that one should have at least been made up. It is egregious. But you guys aren't here to hear me complain about not getting to go to practice.
So I know you got some practice notes, but random question here because I just watched it this morning. Did you watch the Quinn Ewers show with Gruden's
No, but like
last night?
people are raving about it though. I mean, is it good?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Well,
Fantastic.
do you want to give us some high level notes,
Um,
top level notes, I guess, whatever the word is.
well, Quinn Ewers doesn't have TikTok.
Good. Well, that's another way that him and I are very similar. I'm
He
not putting Chinese spyware on my phone like you
he
idiot.
he told Gruden exactly. He goes, I don't want the Chinese to get my stuff. And Gruden's like, well, I got it. He goes, well, you shouldn't have it. And then they they did all the board work and they're talking about different stuff. And, Gruden's like, man, you were at the, what was Ty Detmer's dad's name? You were at the Detmer camp and you were in 3rd grade. And tell me about this Cade Klubnik rivalry and tell me about this play. And like, Quinn's smart, man. I've watched the Will Howard one, the Riley Leonard one. I haven't watched the full Seth Hennigan one.
I've heard a lot of rave reviews about the Will Howard one too.
Yeah, Will Howard's great. I think Jackson Dart comes out tonight at like 10 o'clock, maybe tomorrow night. It's either tonight or tomorrow night. Jackson Dart comes out.
Did Shador do one?
Shador and Cam didn't do one.
Okay,
he got Hennigan, Riley Leonard, Will Howard, the 2 national championship playing quarterbacks. He got Quinn and Jackson Dart. So I think that's 5. I think he might have had a 6th in there.
Gruden, man, he's making good content right now, and I thought it was cool that Texas sent him a bunch of stuff too. Texas sent him that big bag of stuff.
Yeah,
I think a lot of schools are sending all that stuff.
Yeah, dude, every day he's opening up like 2, 3. Yeah, he's just down the street from here.
Is he?
He's in Tampa. He's located in Tampa.
Okay, well, good for him. Great state of Florida. I can't wait till I'm down there. All right, just a couple things. We're gonna have a little bit of a shortened show tonight because Cody is there in Tampa, just trying to get kind of set up. Tomorrow on the show, I think are we gonna go through our final mock drafts tomorrow, Cody? All right, so we're gonna.
People have been asking in the comments, in the comments on YouTube, in the chat. We've been getting questions about doing a mock draft, so we're gonna do one for you tomorrow.
Yep. We're going to do a mock draft or share our mock drafts for the Huddle Report competition. Cody and I both need to get those ready by midnight tomorrow. I'm hoping before we talk about the practice notes, can I just ask you one thing about this? Are you having trouble finding a landing spot for Shamar Stewart? Because he's invited to the draft. He's going to go round 1. I was texting with somebody today who is friends with a parent of a lot of these guys that knows Walter Nolan's dad, Shamar Stewart's dad, all these guys. And I was asking about the Walter Nolan going at 11. And he's like, well, I just said, where's your buddy say that Walter Nolan thinks he's going to go? Where's he going to be drafted? And he goes, told me last Saturday, first round, probably picks 15 through 25. And he said, man, I can't wait to see how high Shamar is going to go. I like him. He's a good kid, great family too. But he ain't did what in college. And he said if you're a dad, you should have your kid play basketball or play defensive end.
Man, here's the thing. I was listening to Zerline. Lance Zerline's on Path to the Draft right now, literally on the TV out here. And they did a pod with Bucky Brooks, and they were just talking about how this time of year you get the Schraggers, the McShays, the Schefters, DJ, Lance, Buck, all these guys get, they start dropping sources and nuggets like yesterday and today and tomorrow. And Lance was like, I was talking to somebody and they said that, Walter Nolan is purely one of the top 5 best players in the draft.
Oh,
but when you talk to people like at A&M, they say he's a little bit, he's got a little bit of a briefcase or a little bit of a carry-on baggage. Not quite a suitcase, but he's got a little bit of a, little bag he's carrying with him from a locker room perspective. So I think that's obviously a question mark for some teams. Just like anything, just like the Tedero McMillan stuff. It's like, well, you have some teams that say he played volleyball, man. He's got great catch radius. And then they go, and then there's other teams that go, he played volleyball, dude. He played volleyball. It's like,
and he says he doesn't like to watch film.
There's just two different ways that brains work and evaluate. There's many different ways evaluation brains work. So it's got to be the right team. And here's the deal, man. What happened with Jalen Carter? Jalen Carter was a top 3 player in that draft, and he falls to 9 and the Eagles got up to 9, or did they get him at 10? And Carter should have never fallen even to that. So people have said, there's some Jalen Carter and Walter Nolan, and it's like, well, if you even think that, and you're a team and you go, well, we have a structured locker room, you click that button or you send that ticket in for Walter Nolan. And I think Shamar's a little bit more of a question mark from that perspective, is that like he doesn't have the stats to back him up, but he has the projection.
And so long. He looks so good at the Senior Bowl. He was really hard to handle at the Senior Bowl. And as we've seen, those guys have turned out to they've turned out to be players that are projected to go pretty high in the draft too. If we're talking about the Gray Zables of the world and stuff, like
100%. And here's the thing: like you talk about Shamar Stewart and all the people that love him because he's a projection type guy, and I love projecting. That's one of my favorite ways to evaluate. But then you'll have the other camp that is people that just love, results and just good football players. And like the other edge rusher at Texas A&M this year was Nick Scorton, who was at Purdue and had double-digit sacks, but he gained weight at Texas A&M, and then now he's lost weight through the pre-draft process. And people love Nick Scorton, and there's some people that like Scorton more than Shamar Stewart. And it's like it's just such a weird dynamic in all of that. And so, talking about finding landing spots, like honestly, man, that's like for the next 24 hours, I'm gonna try and figure, tie as many lines. This is kind of when I enter my like galaxy brain in the next 24 hours and try to match some things up, because that's
Do you think that do you think the Lions would like Shamar Stewart?
Oh, yes. But I don't think he falls there.
Well, I mean,
that's a big fall.
Him? All right, well, who's going to take him? Because all right, here are the Shamar Stewart spots that would make sense.
Saints, Cowboys.
I think that Michael Williams makes more sense. Falcons. All right. So let's just say the Falcons take Mike Green.
Yep, they're also a James Pierce team.
What?
That's also a James Pierce team from Tennessee.
Okay.
But you got a bunch of teams between the Saints all the way down to the line. Like you get a ton of teams in there
that want edge. I mean, they all want edge.
Everybody wants edge.
But there's some where they're like, they have like the Seahawks, man. They need to take offensive line. The Buccaneers, the more and more I've thought about that. Have you thought about sending Jihad Campbell to the Bucs?
Yeah, everybody has. That's one of the most common landing spots for Campbell.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, here I am thinking I'm just to have this.
No, you're good, dude. You're good. That's one of the most common landing spots, though. Yeah, for sure.
I got to looking at rosters harder today.
Yep.
What do you think the Vikings would like Shamar Stewart? I'm sending him Malachi Starks for now.
They won't. No, they're going to go DB or D tackle or left guard. If Zabel's there, I think they'll think really hard about Zabel, but I think he'll be gone.
Do you think Malachi Starks would be reasonable since Harrison Smith's getting old?
My 100% lean right now would be, like I think we talked about it today when we did the mock. I sent them Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan. I think that Minnesota is purely an Emanwari, a Starks. If Will Johnson or Jade Barron fall, like those are the 100%ers. And then I think Gray Zabel is probably the top of that food chain right there for the Vikings. I don't think D-line is really a concern. They like their edge rushers, and they went out and got Jonathan Allen and old buddy that was Philly through Pittsburgh, San Fran, Hargrave, Javon Hargrave. So they've spent on D-tackle. I think they still got Harrison Phillips. So I think they're content there, and that's not really
my current mock right now. I'm at 25, and Will Johnson still hadn't gone. That's probably bad.
I don't think it's bad. I mean, I think it's reasonable. That's the one thing we heard before that pro day was like, if he does not run tomorrow, don't be surprised he falls into the 20s.
Yeah,
he didn't run, and that's the big question everyone has: 4.55, 4.58, 4.6. What is he? Right. But again, his play style, it doesn't. Here's the thing. That's the thing where people overthink stuff a lot. And we always talk about this, generally not right now because we're like in the mud of it. But then you get past the draft and you're like, man, I can't believe they overthought that. And you just take the player based on the player, not be like, well, he didn't hit my 4.49 threshold. It's like, well, You line him up on a guy, and if the guy can't get off of him, what's the speed matter?
No, yeah, I get it. So anyway, we'll have more. We'll have the whole mock draft conversation tomorrow. I'm putting it together. I just want to get your thoughts on all that stuff. I want to ask you this other thing, but I'm not going to do it. Like here, there's so much to talk about it. Like we'll talk about it tomorrow. Let's talk about the practice notes for today, and then we'll get you out of here, Cody, so you can take care of the rest of your stuff. But before we do that, of course, we have to hear from our good friends over at Specs.
Have you heard the news? Specs is turning 63, and we're celebrating you. Whether you're looking for whiskey, canned cocktails, or wine, Specs has it all with Texas-sized savings all month long. Specs. Cheers to save.
Yes, football with friends. It is indeed fun as hell here on Orange Bloods Live. Alex Dunlap, Cody Carpentier. You can go find all of our content over at orangebloods.com, all our draft stuff and our fantasy football stuff and all that. There's a website, rosterwatch.com. You can check out. Cody and I do another daily show every day about NFL and fantasy and stuff. You can find over there. So spend. I feel like I spend half my day in these boxes like this, Cody.
We do.
Talking to you and Trash Man, these other dirt balls. All right, so practice today. A couple of things I heard. Today was full pads practice. So there's 3 practices left today, Thursday, and Saturday. Today was full pads. Thursday, it's probably going to be more like walkthrough, super simple, easy walkthrough. Getting ready for the Saturday morning practice where they'll be back in full pads and have it be a scrimmage setting before the Fan Fest on Saturday. So that'll be.
So they got 4 days off. Today's the 14th practice, right?
No, today was 13th practice. We could have been miscounting before, but today was practice 13.
Okay.
They have 13, 14 is Thursday, 15 is Saturday.
Got it.
So I don't know how we got that screwed up, but we did somehow. I was told that. So
it's going down on Saturday.
What?
Are the wife and kids going down on Saturday?
I mean, I'm sure. If they don't have, if my daughter's not playing basketball, or so, yes, dude, of course they're going to go down. Yeah. So full pads, did some team drills. I asked who stood out on offense. I was told it was Parker Livingstone. He got open for a big deep catch with the first group on Wardell Mack, which means I guess Jelani McDonald was back playing safety today and not nickel. If that means right. If Wardell Mack's in there, he's playing nickel. So I guess it was a day where they had Jelani playing back at safety again. They mentioned, I thought it was interesting. KJ Lacey, he says he's out there making plays. So that was interesting to hear. And then they also mentioned Khalif Lockett. And so I just said, well, what's happening with Lockett? Is he still behind Livingstone and Butler over at the Z wide receiver? And I was told, I was like, no, like he was working out with the 2s today at the X behind. Really? Yeah. So apparently they're cross-training him at both the Z and the X now, but he's still working behind Jamie French.
Did you see the picture from Chris Jackson posted it? Coach Chris Jackson posted the picture of the wide receiver meetup, not really meetup, but the dinner at Chris Jackson's house. Did you see this picture last weekend?
No.
So I guess we never even talked about this. I was going to bring it up on another show. I want to get your first reaction to seeing this picture. Just first immediate, where your eyes go, first thought. Ready? I'm going to pop it up on the screen right now. Right now. All right. It's loading. And I'm not going to tell you what my first thoughts were, but here you go. First thing, where your eyes go, what do you think?
I think your eyes are, I mean, where did my eyes first went to? I have a hard time knowing who these guys are by their faces alone. But my first, I think your eyes immediately drawn down to the lower right to the kid in blue. But as I'm looking at it, anything I find interesting.
It's not I guess it's not that big of a draw.
The kid back there. Who's the guy back behind Parker in the black shirt?
That's Wingo on the far right.
That's Wingo?
Yeah, far right.
Jeez, he look. Gosh, look how big. Look how much bigger he got through his chest since last year.
He's built out. Parker, not as big as I thought he was. She's sitting down fully. I get it.
Yeah, he's skinny.
Michael Terry, massive quads. And then Khalil Lockett, I don't know what it is. He just looks, maybe it's because he's the closest to the camera, but I was like,
hold on, which one's Michael Terry?
Michael Terry's got the orange shorts sitting in the middle of the screen.
Okay. And
then that's French next to him, and then Parker, and then DeAndre Moore, right? Or am I off?
No, Parker's sitting.
Parker's sitting. You're right. I'm not sure who the guy between.
Well, there's probably like number 35 or number 38. All these walk-on kids.
Sorry. Okay. So, but my first thought was Wingo's bicep, Terry's quads, and then Lockett. Maybe because he's in the front of the screen. But I was like, man, Lockett looks good. I just think he looks like the part. You know what I'm saying? Like,
is that Lockett in blue?
Yeah, Lockett was right there in the front left in blue.
Well, wait, but who's the third from the right on the back?
I got you.
With the hoodie.
I think it's a walk-on. I don't know. I've been trying to figure that out.
No, the third
white hoodie.
Yeah, white hoodie.
I don't know. It's Denon McCutchen, walk-on. I don't know.
Thatcher Milton or something like that. Or
I looked him up though. I don't think that's Thatcher. I looked online. I don't know. I couldn't tell.
Okay.
But anyway,
somebody in the chat can probably tell us. I can't believe I cover the team so much, and like I'm not very good at knowing what these guys' faces look like. You know what I mean?
But the thing is with the walk-ons, it's like you never really. They got helmets on at practice, and then they're not on the roster online, unless they're like,
right.
Got it. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's a good looking group of guys, man.
That's what I thought too. McCutchen looks a little skinny, but
it's a good player though, man. They were asking today about like Chip Brown or somebody asked Sark about, how do the freshmen look? Michael Terry, Khalil Lockett, and Jamie French, and he's like, you better mention Jalen McCutchen. He's having one hell of a spring, He's like, oh, Jalen McCutchen. Sorry about that. I'm not sure about that.
That is Aaron Butler.
No, okay.
So
fair enough. Okay. The other thing, I guess probably the biggest news, Jaden Chapman, left guard, backup. Jaden Chapman is hurt. Not sure how hurt he is, but I don't get the idea that he's going to be back this spring, which is not, only 3 more practices. But I was asking, all right, well, who's in there, the second team left guard, and it's Connor Strow.
And so
that means the second, and it's Jackson Christian behind him. So Christian apparently hasn't worked ahead of Strow. With that being said, you probably don't want Strow to transfer out. And if for the last 3 practices, you got to play that guy as the second left guard, even if Jackson Christian, who I've heard actually looks kind of good, even if he's been better, if you don't want Strow to transfer out, you're not going to. It's pretty meaningless. It's the level of work you're going to get with the 2s is the same as the 3s for the rest of this time. And all you're telling Strow is basically, hey, man, like this guy, there's this true freshman that's not even that highly recruited is already working ahead of you. And he's been here for 12 practices.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether they would go into the season with Strow as the second team left guard if this injury is long-term. I didn't get the feeling it's like a super long-term thing, but I didn't get the feeling it's a super short thing either. So, I don't know what we'd think of this. It was an interesting thing when I posted this. Okay. Oh, the other thing is Brandon. Somebody just straight up told me that Brandon Baker's the starter at right tackle. So that Andre Kojo thing had been up in the air for a while, and I got the feeling like he'd been working ahead of Baker at the right tackle for certain ones. I just heard today it was just all Baker the whole time. Whether that changes or not, I'm not sure, but it feels like, man, to end camp, it's like
the one thing I would say is let's see what happens next practice and make sure that they're not doing like Baker gets everything today, Kojo gets everything tomorrow.
Yeah.
We've seen this back and forth things through the first 12 practices.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's like
if it's Baker again on Thursday for the whole practice, all right, we're done.
We'll see how much. Gosh, it's gonna be hard to get practice notes during the day of the draft and stuff. I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's just I get the feeling that Baker's I get the feeling that Baker's going to end spring ahead, and this battle will continue in fall. But I think that Baker will come in ahead. The more interesting thing to me is just Chapman. It's like whenever I heard about this, it's like on the surface, it's like Jaden Chapman. Most people who aren't like you guys, like the hyper informed, are just be like, who? Like, who cares? What is it? Backup left guard? But I think it goes to show that there is a
need.
Things can get really thin really fast, right? If you got to put Connor Strow out there, I think you're in trouble.
Yeah. This is the Pregnon conversation, man. They told us in the first portal that they needed defensive tackle and they were keen on offensive line on the interior, and they haven't addressed it yet. And maybe they thought, like your reporting has brought to us, that their offensive line's in a good place. But I think it takes even though this isn't a massive injury or anything, and maybe I don't know what the extent of the injury is, but I'm saying from a starter, it's not a starter going down. But I think it's a piece where you go, oh, so now we're one guy away from Connor Strow starting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that should get a brain going. Yeah, we need to. Is there one or two spots left on the?
I think now there's after the kicker
one
and
spot.
Murad Watson. I think it's 1 to 85, right?
So I mean, that's got to be an offensive lineman. In personal opinion, got to be a guard.
Before it's a tight end or a wide receiver or something. Oh wait, do you know what? Maybe there's 2.
I feel like there's 2, but I have one.
There's 2 after Watson. But so one has to be an offensive lineman. I think if a good enough offensive lineman comes available. This looks like Thomas Quinn in the chat's asking, "Y'all see the OT that just entered?" No, I didn't. I've been on the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think another offensive lineman just and like it's not. And I think Cody put it well. It's not that you do it because Chapman got hurt, because who knows, he's probably gonna be fine by fall camp. It's that this happened, and it might just kind of open your eyes to say, like, oh, wait, that can happen, and then we're in this spot.
Then you got to reshuffle everything.
Now I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. Right.
And then you're moving Hudson, then you're moving Robertson, then you're doing this, and then you're like, well, now what happens if Nato goes down, Connor Strow's in line, but they probably move Hudson over, Robertson starting. And then what happens if one more guy goes down? Then you're up the creek, right?
Yeah. Well, I think before you put in Connor Strow, you put in Daniel Cruz at center.
Probably.
Or see if you can move Kibble over to left.
But regardless of whichever way you're trying to slice it,
you're starting to say, these are a lot of really weird permutations here. They're going to keep this golden boy upright and safe, and it goes by the name of one Mr. Arch Manning. Now,
and here's the thing. Before we get out, here's the thing. We saw this with Ohio State last year, right? They lose their All-Pro left tackle or All-American left tackle. They bump over a very versatile guard to left tackle. And what did we hear going into the national playoff game from our Ohio State sources? Is they're like, we are worried about right guard and center and right tackle. Like, these guys are these are liabilities. They made it to the finish line, but you at least got to have depth that, can play in those games. I'm not sure any of those names you just listed off. Nate Kibble today, Daniel Cruz today, Strow today. Robertson's probably fine to play in a game like that, but it's not ideal. So that's where your brain has to go to, is like, all right, can they stand in week 14, 15, 16 when you're against the big dogs?
All right, you can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. You can find us on X at Cody Carpentier, at Alex Dunlap NFL. Thanks so much to our great sponsors, Texas Beef Traders, Poncho Outdoors, MyPerfectFranchise.net, our good friend Andy Ludicky, and, of course, Specs Wine, Spirits, and Finer Foods. We couldn't do the show without all those dudes and all of their great support. Thanks so much for watching, to everybody for being here. If you could please do these 4 things. 1, like the show, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend about the show. And if it's your first time watching, or if you dig it, or you just stumbled upon this and you like it, come back. We're on every night from 6 to 7 p.m. Central right here on Orange Bloods Live. We can't thank you guys enough for continuing to make the show a success, for continuing to help us grow. We plan on growing and growing and growing and growing, and we can't do it without y'all. So we appreciate you. We thank you for being here. All right. We'll see you tomorrow. Love you guys. God bless. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.